one of two things. And all of this, of course, Brexit is an important part of all of this. So we're not part of any EU regulations of any kind. But the first thing that needs to happen is to say, look, to the French, we need, between us, a new agreement ASAP. And actually, it is in your interests to do this, because if we are not allowing anyone that comes via this route to stay at Dover, that will actually take the pressure off the camps at Calais. So there is a possible win here for the French authorities in doing this. So that's one way. One way is we come to a new agreement with France that nobody coming via this route is allowed to stay. All right? Failing an agreement with the French, we then have to get tough and do what the Australians did. Don't forget, Australia was facing a very similar kind of thing. Tony Abbott, the Australian Prime Minister, just simply said, this is not going to happen. Boats were picked up and people were taken straight back and delivered to points of embarkation. So the other alternative is we simply turn people round and we take them back to Calais and say to the French, this is your business. Now, I'd rather not do that because that would be a confrontational way of doing it. I'd rather do it by agreement, but it needs to happen. And I do, I understand the government's dealing with a huge health and economic crisis. I get all of that. But if we don't deal with this quickly, I promise you, we are going to see thousands and thousands of people coming over the course of the summer. And it is very likely that at some point in time there will be a major at-night mid-channel collision. Yeah. One of those boats on Friday had 51 people on it. So the scale of this is going up and up and up. And we're going to find a day when we wake up and hear that dozens of people have died in the English Channel. I think for every reason, we need to act fast. If we can do it with French cooperation, great. If we can't, let's just do it. Some of them, of course, disappear into effectively a slave economy because the fees that are charged by the traffickers to cross the channel are high. A lot of people coming can't afford it, so they're forced to pay it off with years and years, as I say, effectively of slave labour, something that we should be, I think, rather ashamed of. It's as if, isn't it? There's a great big sign on the White Cliffs of Dover that says, come to Britain illegally, you will be allowed to stay. And I'm very disappointed because Sajid Javid, when he was the Home Secretary in October 2018, described the situation as a crisis and that we had to get tough with it. Priti Patel, the current Home Secretary, has been saying for a very long time, we have got to stop this. And the most peculiar thing is I first started covering this 2 weeks ago. I went down to Hastings. I met some of the fishermen there. And what you're seeing in that part of the country are people landing and disappearing in. We don't even know who they are. I mean, we've had, ever since 1951 and the Geneva Convention on this, you claim refugee status in the first safe country you come to. I think the real issue here is that most people that are coming via this route would never qualify as refugees. 80% of them are young males between the ages of 18 and 30. They're coming from all over the world. One or two maybe come from oppressed areas, but I don't think most do. So this is economic migrancy being conducted by criminal gangs, being done now on a scale. I mean, think about it. 583 people have got into the UK that we know of since lockdown began. So the numbers are increasing very, very sharply. And I think our message has to be very, very clear. In fact, there was one particular account I got of a boat landing under the cliffs just to the east of Hastings with 29 people on board. Wow. And off they get. They run up through the cliffs and presumably there are vans waiting for them or whatever it is. So I've been pushing that with Hastings. I went to Dover twice last week. And what's been extraordinary is I've found amongst the general public a real appetite to talk about this, debate this, understand this. And yet, most media organizations have either refused to cover it or basically accused me of breaking the law.
Well, you had a visit, didn't you, from the boys in blue, because somebody had reported you for flouting lockdown rules.
Quite extraordinary. Nearly 10 o'clock at night, And there I was after a day in Dover, indulging in a glass of something, and thinking, well, maybe the day's done. And yes, a knock at the door from two people from Kent Constabulary, and I was really, really furious about that because, not only do I write a lot of stuff online for national newspapers, I broadcast on a radio station, I've got, YouTube channels and Facebook channels and all the rest that have been getting millions of people watching this stuff every week. To my knowledge, no other reporter, no other photographer, no other politician has been stopped during the whole of lockdown. And I rather took a call at 10 o'clock at night to almost be intimidatory, almost as if we shouldn't even be discussing this subject. Well, I won't be silenced. I'm going to go on doing it, and I'm pleased that people like Michael Howard are adding their voice to it.
We say, and I ask you to say with us, lift up your voices in this great meeting in the heart of England. And to all the world, a message, England lives and marches on.